Hello. This week is the beginning of the inquiry project. This is an important time because this is the biggest project that you will be accomplishing this semester. This is really a wonderful way to engage children in investigating a particular topic. They learn so much more than just simply doing a worksheet or hearing about something on a video or having it read to them in a book. So you can do this with your pre-K students. You can do it with kindergarten, first, second, or third grade. It's totally up to you, whatever you have the easiest access to. So here on our Blackboard webpage, on the announcement side, you're going to find the Here button. And I'd like you to go there and put the name of the school where you're going to be doing your project. In the classroom, if it's not your classroom, just indicate what grade you're going to be in. And then you don't have to fill this out right now if you don't know, but if you do know, make sure you put the topic of your project. Topics, however, need to be approved before you continue to the investigation phase. I don't want you to get all the way through and then have me say, well, that just was not an appropriate topic to do with children of that age group or whatever the reason. So please do not go too far with your topic until I have sent you an email saying your topic has been approved. If there's a question about your topic, I will be sure to send you an email as well and let you know that we need to have a Zoom meeting to talk about it. Okay, so as soon as you can get your topic to me, then we can talk about it if we need to, or I will just approve it. So the next thing, you're going to read Hellman Katz, chapter 1 and 2. This is I don't know if you can see that from here, but it's the Young Investigators book. You're going to read the learning modules, week 6, and I'm going to go through that as we're working this today. And you will need to purchase a trifold documentation panel. You can buy this anywhere inexpensive that you have access to. Amazon, Walmart, Target. Go cheap, please. Because you're going to document the students' work and learning. And then you need to download the project planning journal. Now, you don't necessarily have to if you don't want to, because you already own the project planning journal. It is actually at the very back end of your book. It's on after page 134, you get to this page that says project planning journal. But some people want to sell their book back, other people have an electronic copy or whatever. So I went ahead at one point and downloaded that project planning journal in Microsoft Word, and you can just fill it in, and then you can send it to me when you're done with that. Okay. And then you have the planning investigations analysis, which is due this week by 11:59 on Sunday. So first thing I want to do is talk a little bit about chapter 1 of your Hellman Katz book, because this is a real gem, this book. I like the part on page 2 where it talks about investigations being projects being an in-depth investigation of a topic worth learning more about. That tells you a lot about a topic. It's got to be worth learning more about. And they also go on to say that it's usually undertaken by a small group of children. You're never going to get a total 100% buy-in in a class. As you noticed in that fire truck video that you watched last week, her whole class did not participate in this particular topic. There was a whole group of children that was not to that point yet where they were interested or able to do the work. So let's go on and take a little bit more of a look here. Projects are experiences. They are for the children to work on, not the teacher to stand in front of them and teach them about. That doesn't mean that you can't have a visiting expert come tell the children about a topic if it works for that particular topic. Let's take a look here at the rest of this chapter where they're talking about benefits of projects in the early years. It's really amazing that on page 6 on the very bottom, it talks about children in preschool getting so much benefit in their language development, literacy development, math development from doing self-initiated projects based on their own interests. There's a great deal of social emotional development because they work together. They have to share, they have to collaborate, they have to take turns, all those wonderful things you learn in preschool for sure. They're highly engaged because this is their own learning. This is what they're interested in. Let's go on here. I want to go to chapter 2, where they talk about getting started and the common experience. Well, you know, a lot of projects come out of a common experience, like that fire truck project that you saw the video last week. That came from the children actually seeing a fire truck, and then they became so interested in the fire truck. Well, that doesn't always happen naturally like that. Sometimes teachers have to do some provocation work. Provocations are objects that you bring in that might give children some ideas for projects they might be interested in. You might have to bring 5 or 6 different provocation items in to see what makes it click. What are children really interested in learning more about? On page 15, they talk about these teacher-initiated topics. It's totally fine for the teacher to initiate. Okay. When you get to figure 2.3 on page 17, and bearing in mind, y'all may have different pages if you have the electronic version, but figure 2.3 is about choosing the best topic, and it's got a whole list of bullet points on what you need to consider when you come up with a topic, when you're finalizing your topic. Look at, is the topic even related to children's own experiences? Do they have anything to attach this new learning to? Is there value? Can you attach some of the Oklahoma academic standards to it? Does it encourage children to examine things closely? Are there opportunities for a variety of skills to be used during investigations? Does it develop positive dispositions towards learning? Are there opportunities for children to represent what they are learning, whether they're making clay figures or building the fire truck like in the video, or drawing representations? How do they represent their learning? Is the topic more concrete than abstract? And the younger the child, the more concrete it needs to be. Is there an abundance of firsthand direct experiences with real objects? This is of primary importance. Can the children do their own research? They should be able to do their own research. Now, obviously, for very young children, you're going to have to direct a lot of that. You will have to read to them things that come from books, perhaps interpret something they see on a video, but they should still be able to do some of their own research. Are there authentic artifacts? And by authentic artifacts, I mean not toy reproductions. For instance, if children are very interested in veterinarians, you don't want all toys for them to work with, you know, like toy stethoscope and toy, whatever it is, stuffed pets. They're not going to learn anything from that. They have got to have the real items. Within safety, obviously, it's got to be safe. Are there field sites or visiting experts that you can bring in, or can you take them to a field site? Is it relevant to the children? Are there opportunities for children to solve their own problems? So as you're working your way towards making your own decision on a topic, make sure that you look at each one of those to see that, that you're hitting most of them. Page 20 and 21, very important to think about anticipatory teacher planning. This is what you do after you have nailed down a topic. Then you plan, what are you going to do with that topic to help children investigate? Webbing is a very common technique, and they've got some example webs on pages 22 and 23. More webs on page 25. Lots of detail about how to put this together. What kinds of experiences might you provide for the children? This is just in the planning phase. What might your schedule look like for doing these projects? Most of the time people put them into the afternoon, but it depends on your own classroom. Okay, that's that on chapters 1 and 2. Excellent, excellent information. Then once you've done all that reading and all that thinking and all that prompting with the students to find out what they might be interested in, go to learning modules and week 6. And here's the starting project. So a little bit more about topic selection. As you narrow down your topics, make sure that your topic is a know about topic, not a how-to topic. How-to topics are, I'd love to know how to make a pizza. Well, that's not a project to investigate. That it just isn't. That's a cooking lesson. Lots of fun. They might learn something too, but it's not a project. It is a how-to. So that's not going to work. And this here is an actual web that I love to use. I like this one better than the one that they have in the textbook, but any of them that you feel comfortable with is fine. What I like about this particular set of web is that it's got the content areas built in. You see the language and literacy, you see some social studies, you've got math here, more language and literacy, and here's some science. So there you go. And this is my recommendation on the web here. And then when you're completely done with phase 1, you're going to write a narrative summary. And you're going to have the child's age and grade, 4-year-old classroom, 3-year-old classroom, or kindergarten, first, second, or third. Relevant background information, you would include that in your narrative summary. Strategies used to identify a topic. Did the topic just kind of pop out when they just were talking, or did you have to bring in a bunch of provocations and kind of get them started in the process? What kinds of strategies did you use to support children's knowledge, skills, and dispositions? How did you build interest? Did you bring in some books about the topic and let them look through it? Did you read one to them? Did you bring in some objects for them to handle and build some interest and some background knowledge? What dispositions did you really foster? The disposition to be curious, the disposition to investigate, the disposition to be a continuous learner. These are all good dispositions. Talk about that. What was the children's current level of engagement? Were they really interested, or were they kind of, nah, not so much? At that point, you might want to think about a different topic. And what were some cultural influences pertaining to the topic? I mean, is this a topic perhaps that, is it about Native American art, or, you know, does it have something to do with Mexican culture, perhaps? Whatever the culture is that you included in this, please make sure to talk about that as you're writing your narrative summary. Phase 1. This is a paragraph format, 1 page, single space. That way you get everything in 1 page. Again, please be sure to have me approve the topic before you get to the end point here of phase 1. And I've given you just a little bit of direction here. This is a sample. My topic was worms, which I've actually seen done, and it's one of the more fun projects I've ever seen. There's nothing like a room of kindergartners that's working on worms. Fantastic. Here you have the children's questions. You're going to have a minimum of 10 questions about what they want to learn about the topic. Then you're going to put an anticipatory web, and I've given you some specific instructions of what to put on the anticipatory web. Then you're going to glue some pictures that you've taken of the children during phase 1. Now, if you're in a public school, those children, the families have signed waivers for their children to be photographed. If a child does not have a waiver on file, then you'll have to exclude them from the picture, or glue something over their face so that their face is not shown. And narrative summary is down at the bottom. This is on the left-hand side of the documentation panel. So the left-hand side has 10 or more children's questions, anticipatory web, pictures, and a narrative summary. And of course, it'll say phase 1 up here. Make sure that you print that. You're not going to write on the documentation panel. Everything you put on the documentation panel is either pre-packaged letters, or they're printed on a computer and then glued on there. And then your topic at the top. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and go to the journal, because as you're working on this, you want to keep up the work in your journal. They're both turned in separately. So here it is. This is what it looks like. Okay. Phase 1, beginning the project. Read through these prompts and fill them out in as much detail as you possibly can. The anticipatory web that you made for the left-hand side of your documentation panel, you can just make a copy and glue it right here. No point in reinventing any wheels here. You're going to fill in all these prompts. It's going to make you really think about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you are going to go about doing it. It's planning, 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 planning. Don't do this all in one day. You want to just maybe 1 or 2 pages per day. That's all you need to do. That way it stays high quality and detailed. So let me get out of this. And I want to go ahead and go to our syllabus and just take a little bit more of a look here at the grading rubric for the project approach, so that you know exactly what the criteria are for grading it. Okay, here's phase 1. me 1 minute and I'm going to share this. And there we go. Okay, so phase 1, in order to meet expectations for your documentation panel, you're going to have 8 or 9 child-generated questions that are researchable, that they can actually do some inquiry with. Now, to meet ECEDs, you're going to do the 10 plus. You're going to have your narrative at the bottom of the page. And obviously, the difference between these two is the specific details and examples. You're going to have your anticipatory web with 4 content areas, a minimum of 2 potential developmentally appropriate experience for each content area, and Oklahoma academic standards for each content area. To ECED, you'll need 5 plus. And then your narrative summary explains specific strategies used to support children's knowledge, skills, and dispositions. So please look over these as you're doing that left side of your documentation panel. And this is not something you're going to do in a week. This is something that takes 2 to 3 weeks to really work your way through, even though we're going to cover phase 1 this week, and next week phase 2, and then phase 3. I don't expect this to be done in the next 2 to 3 weeks. This is something that takes several weeks for you to complete. Phase 1 probably takes 2 to 3 visits in the classroom. So give yourself time and you'll have a much better project. And then I want to go ahead and just go down to the journal and look at the journal. Here's the project journal. And again, here you've got your anticipatory planning web, same criteria, because you're going to just glue it in there. And let's see what else is in there that's different. I'd like you to go ahead and just look over the grading criteria for the journal, so that everyone knows exactly what the criteria are. Okay. This week, I'm going to share my screen again and go up in here and look at your assignment for this week. This week, you're going to do your topic selection analysis. And the topic selection analysis means that you're going to identify your proposed inquiry topic, which means you'll have to meet with the children and kind of get an idea. This won't be the only meeting. You're probably going to have 2 or 3 meetings and then bring in some things to get them thinking some more. But this is the beginning. This is a proposed topic. This is not necessarily your final topic. And you are going to analyze it based on the bullet points in figure 2.3, which is the one that we talked about earlier in this video. It's on page 17 of the paper copy of Hellman Katz. Topic approval by the instructor is required prior to undertaking the project with children. And I will send you an email after I read your proposed inquiry topic. And if there's any question at all, I will set up a Zoom appointment with you to go over it. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope you have a wonderful time getting started on your inquiry project with the children. Bye.